I'm 18 and going through a very tough time in life. My life has always been difficult, thanks to my narcissistic parents and their favoritism towards my sister Mandy, who is 24. From my earliest childhood memories, my parents have been biased towards Mandy. Because of them, I never had a happy childhood. My sister wasn't a bully, but she was shrewd and opportunistic. She exploited our parents' feelings to get what she wanted. I don't blame her entirely. My parents made it this way. She's their firstborn and has a special place in their hearts. But I'm also their daughter. Many parents have a favorite child, which is fine until it makes the other child feel unwanted. That's what my parents did to me, making my life miserable. I felt like a spare part in the house. I mostly wore my sister's discarded clothes because they were too new to throw away. I played with her toys because my parents didn't want to waste money on new ones. I remember only getting a new dress during Christmas, and that was just to avoid looking bad in front of Grandpa and other guests. I would get one set of dresses, shoes, and accessories for Christmas, while my sister got as many as she wanted. If I complained, Mom would say, "Don't be impatient, your sister's stuff will come to you next year." As a kid, I bought into that logic, but as I grew older, I started to understand the unfairness. When I rebelled and refused to eat the food at the dinner table, I was grounded and starved until I apologized and did the dishes for a week. It's exhausting to recount my sorrows, but this is how it was. My mom treats me this way because of her own experiences with her narcissistic parents. She is the eldest of two siblings and felt neglected because her parents spoiled her younger sister. Mom decided to not pamper the younger girl, but instead to favor the elder one. I feel she sees herself in my sister and treats her the way she wished to be treated. By the time I finished elementary school, I was so resentful of my parents and my sister that I started spending my summers with my grandpa. He was the only one who truly loved me. Grandpa wasn't fond of my mom. He could see through her behavior. The year I completed elementary school, he invited me to stay with him at his farm. I felt so relieved and free. Grandpa got me everything I asked for. I exploited his love, asking for dresses, Barbies, dollhouses, and video games. Everything my parents wouldn't get for me. I loved spending time with him at his farm, which had a poultry farm and a small stable with horses. Life was fun there, and I never wanted to come back home. When it was time for high school, I insisted on attending a school near my grandpa so I could stay with him. My parents were happy to get rid of me, so I moved in with Grandpa for my freshman year. It was needed for both of us. He was getting old and needed help, and I needed an escape from my toxic family. I was in my junior year when Grandpa fell sick. He called everyone and disclosed his will. He gave his farm and stable to two of my uncles and $150,000 in cash savings to my dad, of which $75,000 was for me for college. He made me promise to complete my education. Mom was upset because others got properties while Dad only got cash. Grandpa reminded Dad that he had already taken his share of the property and sold it to pay off his debts. Just when I started my senior year, Grandpa passed away. It was the saddest day of my life. I had to move back in with my parents, and it was not pleasant. As graduation approached, I asked my parents for the $75,000 Grandpa left for me to fill out college applications. That's when the problem started. Whenever I asked about my money or mentioned college, they would make strange faces and ignore me. When I lost my patience and demanded to know where my money was, Mom said they had given it to my sister for her business. I was furious. That money was supposed to be for my college. They said it was no big deal and that I could wait a year because I was still too young for college. I argued that my classmates my age were getting admitted. When they couldn't reason with me, they pleaded for a year to pay my tuition. I asked why the golden child couldn't wait a year to start her business. I couldn't waste a year. Update 1. A lot has happened in the last few months. My parents insisted I wait another year, but I didn't agree and kept pestering them for the money. T.A. got mad and called me mean and selfish, gaslighting me. My sister Mandy started a campaign to portray me as the bad guy. I lost it when my cousin told me Mandy was saying I was jealous of her business and wanted money from her. I told Mom that if they didn't give me my money, I would tell everyone they went against Grandpa's will. Mom got furious and said I should pay rent and calculate how much they spent on me for 18 years. I fought back, pointing out that they were still supporting their 24-year-old daughter, who was divorced with a child while being mean to me. I always got good grades, but they never seemed proud of me, while their golden child brought them shame. While living with Grandpa, my sister got pregnant by her boyfriend. By the time she found out, it was too late to get rid of it. She had to tell my parents, who were disappointed but felt they couldn't do anything. Mom, being a conservative Christian, forced her to marry the boyfriend, who was a bum and didn't want to take responsibility. My parents tried to track him down after he abandoned my sister and her baby, but he had evidence of her mentally abusing him and sought a divorce. My parents had to bring her back home and have been taking care of her and her child since Grandpa passed. When I returned home, I found Mom raising the kid because my sister was often out. Sometimes Dad got mad at Mandy for leaving her child with Mom, but Mom defended her, saying Mandy was busy looking for a job. That wasn't true. I saw her hanging out in cafes and parks with boys. Mandy, a school dropout, had trouble finding a decent job. When she couldn't find one, she insisted Mom give her money to start a business. Despite everything, my parents supported her and gave her the money without asking me. Until I posted here, I had no idea what options I had to retrieve my money except to ask them. The next time I asked for my money and they pushed back, I said I would sue them for violating Grandpa's will. Their faces turned pale. They realized I was no longer the girl they could exploit. After returning from Grandpa's, I started standing up for myself. When I told them I would sue, they were shocked. Mom pulled out a notepad and scribbled the monthly expenses they had spent on me, claiming I owed them $200,000. I got into a heated argument with Mom and stormed out. After lurking around for an hour, I took a bus to my grandpa's house where my uncle was living. I asked for Grandpa's diary and got his lawyer's number. I called him and explained the situation. He assured me I was entitled to the $75,000 and that it was his responsibility to ensure everyone received what was in the will. He said he would send an official notice to my parents to give me the money, and if they defaulted, I could sue them. Update 2. I wanted to let you know that my parents kicked me out after receiving the lawyer's notice. Mom abused me and threw my stuff out of the house. I should have moved out before, but I let them enjoy kicking me out. Mom said I was like a snake they had been feeding, living off their money while planning to backstab them. I yelled that they left me with no options. I couldn't jeopardize my life and career because of their narcissism. The lawyer gave my parents a month to respond to the notice. They're about to breach the timeline. I think they're not taking it seriously because Mandy called and abused me for giving the family a hard time. She said my parents wouldn't give me a penny and that I couldn't do anything because I didn't have the money to sue them. I didn't reveal my plans to her. I just listened and hung up when I couldn't take it anymore. I told my lawyer about it, and he said we could sue them if they didn't respond by next week. Update 3. I faced severe backlash from my parents for suing them. I didn't want to press charges, but they left me with no choice. I thought the lawyer's notice would be enough, but they didn't respond. I went home to tell them they needed to comply with Grandpa's will, or I would seek legal action. They ganged up against me and hurled abuses. Mom even broke some of my belongings to hurt me. I returned to my lawyer and told him to press charges. When they received the court order, they panicked. Dad called me, saying we could sort things out without a legal battle. I went home to resolve the family matters, but they turned hostile and left me with no choice. Now, the ship has sailed, and they have to follow the legal path. During the court hearings, Dad was ordered to pay $75,000 as per Grandpa's will, but he claimed he didn't have that much money. He offered to pay $10,000 monthly, but my lawyer argued that I needed the money for college tuition, and that wouldn't suffice. The attorney ordered Dad to pay my tuition and other needs up to a minimum of $75,000. If my expenses exceeded that, I was on my own, and if they didn't cover $75,000, Dad would have to pay the balance. I didn't like being dependent on him for money, but I had no choice. Dad didn't have $75,000 to give me at once. I resisted this middle ground, but Dad pleaded with me, promising he wouldn't default, so I agreed. I told him that if he or Mom caused any issues in the future, I would sue them again for compensation for the mental torture. Meanwhile, Mom and Mandy went behind my back. Mandy has been telling everyone that I caused my parents hypertension and brought shame to the family by dragging them to court. The irony is that there was no shame when she got pregnant, but I brought shame by asking for my own money. I don't care anymore. They labeled me the black sheep, and I'm happy being one. Update 4. I know it took me a while to update. I was busy settling into my new life in college. I graduated with top grades from high school and sent convocation invites to my parents, knowing they wouldn't show up. Surprisingly, Dad came. He seemed happy and for the first time said he was proud of me. It took him 18 years and a court case to realize I was also his daughter and needed love and care. I've moved past it now. I quit my job at the cafe and moved to my college dorm. The money I get from Dad covers my tuition, accommodation, and food. Beyond that, I'm on my own. I took a part-time job near campus and give math lessons to classmates for extra cash. I'm good at math. Quite a flex, right? Dad has been sending the money diligently as ordered by the court. Some of you asked about my relationship with Dad and where he was while Mom was mean to me. Dad was non-existent. He saw everything wrong happening to me but chose to ignore it. He never questioned Mom's behavior and always supported her. I'm not sure how he reacted to Mandy's unexpected pregnancy. I was living with Grandpa at the time and didn't care what was happening at home. If I update you on my current situation, I couldn't be happier. I'm living my dream life in college and getting good grades. My relationship with Dad has improved after the court ordeal. Mom and Mandy have been bad-mouthing me, but they have their own problems now. Mandy got into trouble with the cops. The money my parents lent her was lost because she opened a secret gambling business disguised as a gaming zone. My parents thought it was a gaming parlor, but the cops seized everything. They used whatever little money Mandy had to bail her out, leaving her with nothing. I feel satisfied because Mandy didn't use that money for a good reason. She opened a gambling business. After her encounter with the cops, Dad threw her out. Mom tried to defend her, but Dad told her it was either Mandy or him. Since Mom doesn't work, she chose Dad and told Mandy to get a job and move out. Mandy has been using her child to emotionally manipulate Dad into letting her stay, but now Dad is no longer buying her excuses and has kicked her out. She's living with a friend, but who knows how long that will last. She hasn't contacted me for help, and after everything she and Mom did to me, she better stay away. Before writing this update, I read my initial post and teared up. I was in such a bad situation back then, having just lost my support system. My grandpa. My parents ripped me off my inheritance, and I was trapped in my house by my narcissistic parents, denied a college education. There was so much uncertainty about my future. I want to thank this community for all the support. I still miss my grandpa. It's because of him that I'm in college today. He's my guardian angel, and I know he's blessing me from wherever he is.